My name is Father Richard Kunzman. I'm a priest of the Diocese of Camden, New Jersey. I was ordained in 1963. I was at Paca Street from 1957 to 1959. Okay, my memories of Paca Street, one of the most wonderful years of my life. I loved Paca Street. And it was just an unusual place. I mean, you could never, it could never be repeated. It was so unusual. The glass on the wall going around. I remember there was, the Sulpicians had some of their retired priests there. I remember one was very scrupulous, and we had to serve their masses, and he'd go, hoc est, hoc est, hoc est. He couldn't get, but that was all part of it. I remember Boys Town in the chapel where the shorter people had to sit, and those larger ones of us sat in the main chapel. I remember that the two sacristans would hold the white cloth when we went to communion. It was a white cloth that each one of them held, and that's how we went to communion, so that we didn't drop the host. Danny Fives was one of the persons who had to read my dissertation, and he had tuberculosis. And in those days, Mount Wilson was the place where they went for tuberculosis because they hadn't discovered, I guess, penicillin or whatever they needed to cure. So he had to read my dissertation out at Mount Wilson while he was recovering from tuberculosis, and I was shaking it out when it came back. I was so afraid. But they were just wonderful days. A list of characters there who were they just made the place so great. I remember when Lugger Lee's father died, I gave him my condolences when he came back. He was very affected by his father's death. I remember he said the thing from the preference, that we always and everywhere we give thanks to God. That stayed with me all these years, always and everywhere. No matter what happens, we have to give praise to God. Carlton Sage, it was my confessor. And he was so interesting. If you failed, he might say to you, well, you're the highest of the flunks, which was, that's supposed to be a wonderful thing. You were the highest of the people who failed, so, But, they were just such unusual people who were there. And the spirit was so great in the house. And to think the Third Plenary Council of Baltimore was held in what we called the prayer hall. I just thought it was unusually wonderful. And, we didn't get out a lot in those days, but occasionally we could walk downtown and go, we couldn't go in to the stores, but the Heck May Company was there. And then the McCormick Tea was there, and you could smell that. And then those of us who were so sophisticated, we went to the place that had these wonderful cigars and pipes, and we were, so sophisticated. We were doing those things. We got a good education. It really wasn't perfect, but we got a good education. And, they really made things difficult. There was only one edition of Time magazine, and all 100 of us had to read that once a week. So, you're trying to fit it in, and it wouldn't be always there, but that's what we did, And then we had Father Bernard, Father, what's his name, the old dad, we called him, Bernhardt, And once when he was, this is a true story, once when he was giving the meditation, we had to have that preparation for meditation, And then he gave, and the spiritual bouquet will be Auspice Maria. And the place just fell apart. The faculty was even laughing, So they were really wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people. And Alvin Gietzen was there. I told you I was at his diocese recently. And he would always say when we were reading, that word is because, B-E-K-O-Z, O as an orb. And guys would still make the mistake, But it was just the way it was. And we loved it. And I remember they had October devotions. We had to gather around the Blessed Mother statue. And it went on into November. And we could never figure out why it would go into November when it was October devotions, And then there was that beautiful custom, especially for those of us in our first year, that at midnight, Christmas Eve, the choir would go around singing. That's how they woke us up, singing Christmas carols through all the floors, and that's how we were awakened to go for midnight mass. It's a beautiful custom, and of course they sang very, very well. So we had wonderful classmates, and we were all alive, and so full of interest in what we were doing, and the cemetery there, and we'd go out, and then there's benches where we would sit along, and we could smoke out there. And and then Irene, remember Irene? She was the woman when we would hit a ball over the fence, they would ask Irene to throw it back. And then when the last night we go, Irene, good night. Irene, good night. We'd sing to her. These were just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful memories, And so they were 2 unusual years. And then I came here to Roland Park, and I loved it also. But I've always said the finest people I've ever met in my life were in the seminary, both Packer Street and here. It was a joy to stand with them. And I think I would still say that today.